Welcome back. Welcome back. This session's fun. Now, we've spent a lot of time learning how to tell a story, and I know you're all experts now at telling a business story. But I'm not completely certain that we've convinced you of the importance of storytelling. And I know this because at one of the live events, at this point in the workshop, I was speaking to one of the participants. His name was Alan. And I said to Alan, "So how are you finding it?" And he turned to me and said, "Well, I'm learning a lot of stuff, but, I can't tell a story to save my life." And at that point, I realized that I needed to tell him a story. And I'd like to tell you that story, so get comfortable, sit back in your chair, and let me tell you a story. This story starts like every good story. Once upon a time, in the lands of vast Hubristan, there lived a sultan. And the sultan was a dim-witted, capricious man, a sadistic tyrant who ruled his land with an iron fist. Now it came to the attention of the Sultan that his wife had been unfaithful. So he called the headsman, mask, axe, said to the headsman, "Headsman, remove her head from her body." And it was so. And the Sultan found this solution to be good and to his pleasure. And he called the Grand Vizier and said, "Vizier, I have a solution to our problem. No queen is ever going to be unfaithful to me again. You see, each evening you'll bring to me a young woman of purity and noble birth, and I will take her as my queen. And in the morning, the headsman will come and take her away. She will never be unfaithful to me. Do I make myself clear?" "Crystal, my lord." And it was so. Now you can imagine at the beginning, the young women were keen to be queen because they knew that with their beauty, with their youth, with their dancing, with their singing, they would beguile the Sultan and he would fall in love with them and they would be queen. But that's not how it went. Every night the young woman would be brought before the Sultan, and every morning the headsman would take her away. Now, as you can imagine, after about 3 months, there were no young women of purity and noble birth left in the kingdom. They'd all gone to stay with their cousins in Venice, in Paris, in Kashmir. The vizier went to the king. "My lord, may you live forever. There are no more women of purity and noble birth available for my lord." The king looked at the vizier. "Well, that is your problem, isn't it? Because if you don't bring me a young woman, then tomorrow morning you and your whole family will be..." The vizier went back to his home and gathered his wife and his 2 daughters together, held them tightly, and said to them, "My beloved wife, my beloved daughters, go, hug your friends, make peace with Allah, for tomorrow we surely die." And he retired to his study and he wept. But the vizier's daughter, Shaherazade, was a young woman of brilliance and determination. And she went over to her mother and said, "Mother, bring your wedding gown. Bring out my dowry jewels, the gems, the bangles, the bracelets. Adorn me, for I will go this night to the Sultan and become his queen." Her mother was distressed, distraught. She said, "No, you cannot do this." But there was no dissuading Scheherazade. And that night she went to the chambers of the king to be his queen. She moved into the chambers and saw a place of great beauty. The walls were draped in velvet. There were murals on the walls. The floors were of marble. The bed stood with ebony pillars and lace. There were ferns gently wafting in the breeze. She could hear the sound of a lute in the courtyard below, and she thought to herself, "This is a fine place to spend my last night on this earth." She knelt before the Sultan. "My lord, may you live forever." "You're not very pretty, are you?" "It is as you say, my lord. I'm not blessed with great beauty." "Well, you may not be pretty, but you do have a nice voice." "My lord, perhaps I could tell you a story." "A story? A story? Well, I do like a good story." And so she told him a story, and such a story had never been told. It was the story of Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves. It was a story of adventure and daring do. It was a story of love and betrayal. It was a story of treachery and treasure. And as Scheherazade told the story, the king was on the edge of his bed, listening to her every word. And he listened right through the night until there was a knock at the door. The headsman came through the door. "My lord, may you live forever. It is time. It is dawn." "What? Dawn already? But the story's only just started. I need to know the end of the story." He is starting to see a plan. Scheherazade turned to the Sultan. "My lord, may you live forever. Perhaps I could continue the story tonight." "Tonight? Tonight? Yes, tonight. Headsman, we will not need you now. Come back tomorrow morning." And so it was that night and every night. Scheherazade would tell the Sultan the end of the story and begin a new story. And she would continue that story through until there was a knock at the door. And the king would say, "No, no, go away, not tonight, not this morning." And 1,000 nights went by. And eventually Scheherazade turned to the Sultan and said, "My lord, may you live forever. I know no more stories." But by that point it didn't matter, because the king had fallen in love with Scheherazade. Now, I'd love to say that there was a happy ending to this story, but in truth, about a year later, the queen gave birth to a healthy son, an heir to the throne. And inexplicably, nobody could understand why, the king decided to drink a whole cup, a steaming cup of oleander tea, and he died in writhing agony on the floor. All the court was, of course, appalled at this. But they were very glad that the young king, the new king, had as his regent and guide the brilliant and resourceful Queen Scheherazade. Now, can you think why I've told you that story? I think you can, but we'll come back to that.